Hello students. So in our this chapter, how do organisms reproduce? We were at sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We studied lastly that how sexual reproduction is beneficial and why we should use sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction. Why most complex organisms use this mode of reproduction that we have learned. And today we will study about flowering plants. So what are flowering plants? Every plants that you see which bears flowers at some point in their lifetime, they are known as flowering plants, but scientifically there is a category of these plants called as angiosperm. It's a phylum. This categorization of animals and plants is called as classification that you have studied in your 9th standard in chapter diversity of life. So you maybe heard this name angiosperm. It is the most developed plant category. Rest of them are less developed than angiosperms, which are bryophyllum, pteridophyllum, etc. So today we will study about angiosperms. So in angiosperms, the reproductive parts, because we are studying sexual reproduction, the reproductive parts are flowers. Like in human beings, the reproductive parts are testes, ovary. Likewise, in plants, it is flowers. So you have studied structure of flowers previously, like it contains sepals, petals, stamen and pistils. These are the structures of flower that we will study, but you have learned these names in your previous classes. But before studying the structure in depth, these stamens and pistils, these are our reproductive organs. Stamen is male reproductive organ, while pistil contains female reproductive organs. So, like in most organisms, higher organisms, there are two types on the basis of presence of reproductive organs. Like unisexual, like us human beings, we are either male, either female. Exceptionals are there, but mostly we are either containing male reproductive organs or containing female reproductive organs. So in plants also there are some unisexual flowers and there are some bisexual flowers. So unisexual flowers will contain either stamen or pistil, not both. But bisexual flowers will contain both stamens as well as pistils. Some examples are also given in your textbook, like unisexual flowers or unisexual plants are papaya, watermelon, etc. And bisexual are hibiscus, mustard, etc. So let us examine the structure of flower. So we will start with female reproductive part that contain, mostly it is known as pistil in general, but it is made up of many parts. Like this one here is the sticky part known as stigma, and the long elongated tube is called as style. We are drawing bisexual flower, so it will contain both pistil as well as stamens. So stamens are also containing these long tubes, at the top of which they contain these bilobed structures called as anther, in which our male germ cell is being produced. Pardon me for my figures, but these are male reproductive organs containing anther, and this long stick is called as filament. The anther contains pollen grains. Now, what are pollen grains? Pollen grains are male reproductive germ cells or main organs that containing germ cells. You may have observed these pollen grains in some plants. When you touch this anther or in general stamen of any flowering plant, you may have on your hand these yellow small structures. These are called as pollen grains. So these are male and reproductive parts, and the main coloring part by which you are attracted to flower are petals. These are petals having different colors, red, yellow, white, according to plant. This is mainly for attraction of insects, which we will study for pollination, and some green leaves at the base of flower for photosynthesis, and this is our branch. At the basement of this pistil, our ovary is present, in which this is ovary, in which our female germ cell is present. Like in anther, our male germ cell is present. In ovary, female germ cell is present. So, when these pollen grains present inside the anther gets matured, means our male germ cell is ready for the fertilization. This anther will dehiscent, means the wall of anther will shed off, will be opened, and pollen grain will come out. Now, these pollen grains are somehow have to get on the stigma, which is the platform for pollen grains by which they can reach our female germ cell present in ovary. So, when these pollen grains are going to fertilize the ovary or ovum of the same flower, like here we have drawn the flower which is containing both male and female reproductive organs. So here it will be called as self-fertilization. Now we know that fertilization is fusion of male and female gametes. So here it will be called as self-fertilization. But there are also unisexual flowers in which one flower will containing either pistil, either stamen. So there pollen grains must transfer from one flower to another flower to get fertilized. So that fertilization is called as cross fertilization. So this fertilization, in this process, when pollen gets transferred from anther to stigma, it is called as pollination. In plants, this process is called as pollination. When pollen grains get transferred from anther to the stigma. So this pollination is done by many biological and abiotic factors. Like when we talk about biotic factors, these are insects. One insect get sit on this flower for nectar. It is their food, and these pollen grains shed on the body of insects. And when these insects gets onto another flower which is containing stigma for nectar, again the pollen grain will shed onto this stigma, and stigma is very sticky, so it will make a good platform for our pollen grain. Or either if it is on the same flower, the air will do the pollination by the wind, this pollen grain will transfer to our stigma. So these are maybe more than one pollinators. If these flowering plants are of any aquatic medium, so water will do pollination. So there are different pollinators. Now let us study in detail our ovary and how this pollination does work. Now we will draw only pistil part of the flower, that is stigma and ovary. So this is our sticky part, platform for pollen grains, which is stigma. This is our style, the long elongated part which reaches to our ovary, and this is the bottom swollen part called as ovary, in which many filaments or many layers are present to cover the ovule or to protect the ovule inside our ovary. These are many layers. We just have to draw to look like it's ovary, and inside this ovary our female germ cell is present. Generally there are 8 nuclei in this embryo. You don't have to remember the names, but 3 at this end, 2 in center and 3 at lower end. Total 8 nuclei are present. So when our pollen grain, this is our pollen grain, when a pollen grain reaches on the stigma, a tube grows from pollen grain which will carry our male gamete, because pollen grain is not our male gamete. Pollen grain is just protective structure of our male gamete, because it gets transferred from one flower to another flower, sometimes through insects, through wind, through water. So our male gamete should not get harmed. So this is the protective structure, pollen grain, from which this tube will reach up to our female gamete. So this is our pollen tube. It will reach to female gamete, which is present here, female germ cell. So pollen grain will enter from the base and fertilization will occur. So pollen grain stays here, only our male gametes get transferred via pollen tube into the ovary to fertilize our female germ cell. So when fertilization occurs, we know that by the fusion of male and female germ cell, a zygote will occur or zygote will form. So this zygote divides many times, means it will start cell division, because zygote is a single cell. It have to produce a new plant, so cell division will occur, because plants are multicellular organisms. So it will divide many times to form a embryo, and when this embryo is being formed or it is being developed, this whole ovary, embryo is here, so this whole ovary converts into a fruit. Every fruit that you eat is this ovary, and the embryo inside that ovary or fruit now is called as, or it will convert into a seed. It will grow a thick layer around itself. You know that every seeds in every fruit are generally thick, so it will cover a protecting layer and convert into seed. So when this fruit gets matured and get ripped off from the tree, so this seed will get into land and will start to germinate. When the seed is grown in the land and a tree grows from that seed, the process is called as germination. So this is the way flowering plants reproduce. We learned the whole process. By this seed, a new plant will grow. This process is known as germination. So this is the way flowering plants do sexual reproduction. Now we will move on to reproduction in human beings. So reproduction in human beings. So far we were studying modes of reproduction used by different organism or different species, and now we will study what we are most interested in, or the most interested species on this planet, which is fortunately us, human beings. So humans use sexual mode of reproduction, that we all know, but before studying that we will study some unrelated points. They are related, not directly but indirectly before. So what are they? So we know that our human body, from the time of our birth until now, grows continuously. From the time you were born and the time you are now, you have grown continuously, and many changes occur in your body from the time of your birth. Like if we talk about height, your height increase, your teeth, you have got new one, you lost the old ones, what we called milky teeth, and your brain, you learn to read, so that grow also. And all these changes, they can be grouped under the general process of growth, because growth occurs in humans. We grow old, everyone grow old, even plants grow old. So growth is the main factor now up to this in your body, that you were continuously growing. But there are also other changes during your teenage. Teenage means age of adolescence, around 12 to 18. It can be different in different individuals, but averagely it is from 12 to 18. When you are this growth, general growth of height, teeth, is utmost at the end, that is called as teenage, when there are different kind of growth than your general growth of body, which increases your height or your structure of body. But there are other changes in which your structures or general body, you cannot say that the appearance of the body changes, but there are many changes. These changes are generally common in boys and girls. Like we begin to notice thick hair growing in new parts of the body, such as armpits or genital area, that is between our thighs. So these are the common changes in boys and girls. We also become darker, or you can say that these hairs are darker, some are lighter on the hands and legs. Our skin frequently becomes oily. We get pimples. At this age you got pimples. So these are common changes. These are not related to your common growth, but yet they are common in boys and girls. And there are also some changes which are different in boys and girls. These are: in girls, breast size increases, as well as they get their periods, or you can say that menstruation scientifically. They get their first period around 12 or 13 age. Breast size also increases. And in boys, you can say that their voice becomes deepen or voice begins to crack. They grow thick hair on their face, that is mustache and beard. They also feels the increase in size of their penis, and sometimes it starts to erect. So these are the changes that are different in boys and girls, same around this age, teenage. So what are these changes? These changes are commonly called as changes that occurs during sexual maturation. What is sexual maturation now? That in plants we learned that pollen grains takes time to grow until that anther was closed, and when pollen grains get mature, the anther starts to open. Likewise, in humans also, our germ cells are not produced until this age. So you have question, why at certain age only these germ cells are being produced, that is sperm and ovum? Because when we get born, we know that we have to grow. So when our body starts to grow, the reproductive or sexual maturation, reproductive growth is not the first priority, because first of all we get to need the growth of our body, because when you were children, you can say that you were so fragile, but now you are strong, so that growth is priority, not reproductive growth. So when this growth starts to end, that is around 13, 14, 18 years, the reproductive growth starts to begin. So that's why sexual maturation is around this age, and that's why these all changes that we talked about took place around this age only. So this stage of sexual maturation in human beings is called as puberty. You may be heard this word. This is called as puberty, that happens around 13 to 18th of your age, but it is not same in every individual. It can differ according to the individuals, and there are also variations in reproductive organs, like we have different nose, different fingers, likewise different size of breast and penis. So it is common, it is not any point of discussion. So when we talk about how these changes occurs around teenage, so what is the relation of that to our reproductive process? Because whatever we talked about, enlargement of penis, erectile nature, enlargement of breast, all of these, do these have any connection with our reproductive process? So when we talk about sexual reproduction, we know that we are talking about fusion of germ cells from two different individuals. Getting my point? Two different individuals, and these germ cells, we are not plants that it will just got out of the anther when they gets mature. We have germ cells present in testis and ovary respectively in male and female. So this needs to get out to make fertilization. And we know that we talked before that female germ cell which is present in ovary is non-motile, while male germ cell present in testis, which was sperm, is motile. So this male sperm or motile male germ cell have to reach ovary. So this is the internal fertilization. because sperm gets transferred into ovary, not in the ovary, in the uterus, and ovum gets transferred from ovary into the uterus, and uterus is the main site where fertilization occurs. This can be done outside of the body in many organisms. You can say that, like frog, they lay eggs, but this is, you can say that, not very protective method. Means this, when they lay eggs, these eggs are not protected by the frogs. They can be eaten out by any other organism. But in human beings, when internal fertilization occurs, there is a more protection. That's why we do internal fertilization. So for this process of transfer of sperm from male to female needs some growth in penis and erectile nature, so that it can be ejaculated, sperm can be ejaculated into female reproductive organ. So this sexual maturity that we talked about is necessary for the process of insemination. Insemination means transfer of sperm into vagina or female reproductive organ. That's why these all changes are important, and they occur at that stage when your general body growth is done. So we will study male and female reproductive system in detail in our next lecture. Thank you, students.